What's up, guys? Today in All Sports Sunshine, we'll be going over my 2019 Week 12 rankings. And just so you know, this is not the AP poll or the college football playoff poll, but this is my personal rankings, just to get that over with right away. We're going to start off with number 1 through 7. And number 1 is going to be LSU this week. They move up 1 in my rankings after beating Alabama 46-41. That win you just can't ignore. And LSU's resume is excellent right now. I think they've got a better resume than Ohio State does. And so that's why I've got them at number 1. Ohio State's number 2. They beat Maryland 73-10, and you can't ignore that either. That is an excellent win for that team. But once again, LSU does have a stronger resume, I think, than Ohio State. Clemson's my number 3. They move up 1 this week after their win at NC State 55-10. And they're the only 10-0 team currently in college football. Then moving on to my number 4. Of course, Alabama moved out of that top 4, so you got to have another one in that spot. And for me, it is Georgia. Really 4 through 7 could be a mix of a lot of teams. And so that's kind of what's going to be really interesting about this next college football playoff poll especially. But Georgia's my number 4. They beat Missouri 27-0. And so they're going to move up into that spot. And of course, Georgia's going to have to play, it seems like LSU right now in the SEC championship game. So it's possible, or I think it's very possible, that we do only see one SEC team in the college football playoff this year. But I'll go over more analysis on that in a different video coming later this week. Alabama is my number 5. They lost to LSU, only moving down 2 this week. I'm not moving them much further because I don't think Oregon or Minnesota could beat Alabama quite yet. Oregon's my number 6. They had a bye. They move up 1. Minnesota, of course, everyone knows about it. They beat Penn State 31-26 at home. That was a crazy win. I thought Penn State would end up pulling off that game, but man, Minnesota came to play, and they looked very good in that one, and they're moving up 8 this week up into the top 7. Number 8 is Florida, and they played Vanderbilt, shut them out, moving up 1. They're 8-1. Utah's my number 9. They had a bye this week, but they do move down 1 just so that Minnesota can get in front of them. I don't think that Utah could beat Minnesota. Number 10 for me is Oklahoma. Iowa State is who they played, and I believe at one point Oklahoma had a 42-21 lead on Iowa State, and Iowa State ended up coming back and almost beating them. It came down to a 2-point conversion within the last minute of the game, and Iowa State could have won it just right there, but Oklahoma held them off. And so they're going to stay at number 10 this week, though. I don't think I should move them any higher. Penn State's my number 11. They only moved down 6. I'm not sure how far they're going to bump down in the college football playoff poll, but this is right where the AP and the coaches polls have Penn State at. Baylor's my number 12. They played TCU on the road in 3 overtimes. They ended up beating them 29-23. They are 9-0. They move up 1. Wisconsin's my number 13. They beat Iowa 24-22 at home. They do move down 1, though, just because I think that Baylor deserves to be in front of them because they're undefeated. And I don't think we should put any two-loss team over like Penn State or Oklahoma. Auburn is number 14, and they had a bye this week as well. But I'm actually moving them down 3 this week. They were number 11 last week, but just kind of looking at their schedule, a tough one close one to Ole Miss a couple weeks ago. I don't think that's worthy of being in front of Baylor or Wisconsin, so they are 7-2 at number 14. Number 15 is Michigan. They had a bye, and they also moved down 1. Number 16 is Notre Dame. They beat up Duke on the road 38-7. Impressive win there, but I'm not moving them in front of Michigan. Cincinnati's my number 17. They beat up UConn 48-3. They move up 4. Memphis moves up 2 during their bye week. Boise State beats Wyoming in an overtime game. That was close. I thought Wyoming was going to end up winning that one by the way the game was trending, but they end up winning 2017, and they move up 3. Texas beat Kansas State on the road 27-24, and they upset Kansas State in that one. I had them at 24 last week. They're moving up to number 20 this week. Navy had a bye, but they do move up 2 this week. And then you got number 22, who is Wisconsin. They moved down 5 after their loss. They are 6-3. And of course, you got Indiana, who's 7-2. No one's really talking about Indiana. And I know they're a 2-loss team, and their 2 losses weren't very good. I know Ohio State. Of course, Ohio State's an exception. But once again, Indiana, though, they had a bye this week. They're moving up 2, though, just because we had Kansas State lose. Oklahoma State's bumping into the rankings this week. They're number 24. They're 6-3. Kansas State's number 25. They beat Texas on the road 27-24. Wait, no, they lost to Texas. That's my bad. 24-27. They moved down 7 here this week. They're 6-3. Your first 5 out, I've got SMU at number 26, Texas A&M at 27, Wake Forest at 28 after being upset by Virginia Tech. 29 is Appalachian State, and number 30 is Virginia. Once again, the only team that dropped out this week was number 19 Wake Forest, who got upset this week. Now, here's my top 25 from last week. I was not able to get rankings out for week number 11. So here's what it looked like. I had Ohio State at 1, LSU at 2, Alabama 3, Clemson 4. And unlike the college football playoff poll, I actually had Clemson at 4. I've been more of a believer of Clemson. I think, what did they do? I know their resume isn't as good, and they had a close one to North Carolina. But then again, Clemson's better than Penn State in my belief. I think Clemson, they've got a huge winning streak right now. Of course, they won the national championship last year. What have they done to deserve that number 5 spot is what I'm asking. They were number 4 last week. Penn State's my number 5. Georgia was 6. Oregon was 7. Utah 8. Florida 9. Oklahoma 10. Auburn 11. Wisconsin 12. Baylor 13. Wisconsin, Minnesota, Notre Dame, Iowa followed that. Kansas State 18. Wake Forest 19. Memphis 20. Cincinnati, Boise State, Navy, Texas, and Indiana. Let me know your guys' thoughts on my rankings for week 12 in the comments below. What do you guys think of Ohio State, of course? What do you think your top 4 is going to be? Let me know that in the comments below. It was super hard to rank the top 10 here this week. You've got so many teams that are very talented this year, and a lot of surprise teams too, is what I've noticed. Who knew that Oregon or Minnesota or Utah were going to be as good as they were this season? That was crazy. It's been a crazy season so far. But yeah, let me know your guys' top 4 in the comments below. But yeah, once again, thank you guys all for watching. Stay tuned for more this week. We're going to be going over Week 12 previews and analysis, so be sure to be able to stay tuned for